Welcome to the class. So I see in the group, quite a few of you have tried installing Nessus. Couple of you I have seen the reports as well, which is good for people who are still facing issues. Please seek help. I would recommend to try to find the answers with Google first, and then reach out to people in the group. As I said yesterday, the more issues that you face, the better technical professional you will become. Assignment has been done and uploaded in the portal. Very good. Sure, Gaurav, no problem. I mean, let's say, as long as you installed and could access the UI and run a test scan. Again, let's say in most of the cases, you are not going to install it, right? So in 99% of the cases, the SOC team is not responsible for deploying the scanner, basically. So the vulnerability team will do it. We are going to assist them. So what you need to know is how to read the reports, how to understand the reports, how to prioritize the asset patching. So those are the things that you should be knowing. Excellent. Okay, that is strange. You can try it on your laptop if you have a good laptop. 8 GB is decent enough for 2 machines. But if you have 16 GB, it will be a lot better. All right, so let's all put all the things that we have learned so far into a proper context, right? So from the beginning of the class, from last almost 1.5 weeks now, so we have learned about several technologies. So we talked about firewall, IPS, web gateway, email gateway, antivirus, HIPS, host firewall. We talked about threat intelligence. Now we are talking about vulnerability management. Now let's assume a hypothetical scenario where you are a cybersecurity manager of a decent sized company, which had not taken cybersecurity seriously so far. Right, so you have, let's say, around 4,000, maybe 3,000 employees. They have plus or minus here and there a little bit of cybersecurity implemented, but nothing is in order. And you are hired as a cybersecurity manager to make sure that you take care of all the cybersecurity practices in the company. Now that you are aware of few of the technologies that we use commonly, which solution will you choose first? Shubham, I'll answer that question. Please hold on. AV, firewall, network solution will be the first preference. Okay. AV. Implementing firewall will be first. AV firewall. That's what I'm saying mostly. Okay. Vulnerability assessment says na similar. Firewall. Security framework based on industry. Okay. I'm coming to that point, Ravindra. Firewall, network security. Gaurav, please don't ask me to repeat. If I start repeating for everybody's saying I will not be. This is a practice that I have followed. So there are 100 people, guys, right? So some of you suddenly will get a call. Some of you have to walk out, let's say, walk away from the desk and come back. So I don't know what you guys are doing. And if I keep repeating for all the instances, the class will go on forever. Network and host security. I am not sharing the screen, Darshan. SIM solution, firewall. All right. So now think about it, right? So if we, as a security manager, and I'm responsible for managing the security of a company, if I put technologies that I know and that are important, let's say I'll throw some a couple of firewalls and antiviruses in all the systems. Do you think that, or will you get the sense of completeness? That means, let's say, can you assure yourself that you have done everything possible if you just throw some random technologies here and there? The thing is, let's say, if you just keep on installing everything, for example, let's give it a let me try to give it a different analogy. I'm trying this for the very first time. Let's see what happens. Let's say that you are constructing the house, okay, and you are not a engineer, civil engineer. You know, let's say you know a house, right? So you know what a building looks like. So you know how to construct one. You are not a civil engineer, but you want to give it a try. So you start constructing the house, you lay down the foundation, you lay down a couple of bricks, and then comes, let's say, you have to put the pipeline inside the plumbing work. So do you think without a proper structured approach of what has to be done first, what has to be done next, what has to be done last, without this, do you think you'll end up having a good house? You will just mess it up, right? So the thing is, yes, we might end up building one house. First, the first thing is that it might not be strong enough. The spaces might not be utilized optimally. And we had to do a lot of rework because only after constructing the wall do we realize, oh, we have to put the wire also inside the wall. So, okay, now let's say break the wall or do something, right? So like this, lot of repetition work will be going on. That means without a strong understanding of the completeness, if you try to do things, right, so it will never be enough and you will never get that sense of security. And it is impossible for anybody to know everything, right? So even let's say as a manager, even after let's say 10, 15 years of experience, a person might need not know each and every single technologies in the world. So in order to tackle this problem, industry has developed several cybersecurity frameworks, right? So for the lack of better word, I'm just telling you that think about it like a guideline, right? So the industry has developed several cybersecurity guidelines to follow. So if we can take that approach, then, and if you complete, let's say, able to your company in that list of guidelines, then you can rest assured that you have done everything possible under your control in order to secure your company, right? So that's what we'll be discussing today. There are several frameworks. Let me share my screen. So there is NIST 853. So very popular one. Then there is ISO 27001, most widely used. I have lost the PPT for this class. So for some reason it got deleted from my computer and I could not get back. Oh, sorry. I just want to show you this. Okay, fine. Why is it so slow? Okay, NIST stands for National Institute of Standards and Technology. Excellent. We don't even have that PDF. Why is that? It's a freely available document, so we will definitely get it somewhere. Come on, guys, give me that free document. It's going to say the same link. Okay, this is not the complete guide. It's a very extensive, I think at least 300, 400 pages at least. So this is just a, I think, small overview. There's a PPT. Somebody has done a presentation on this. Is anybody able to download it? Will you please share it in the group? This should work. I mean, let's say this is the most reliable link. This is the US government website. Okay, share it in WhatsApp group. Okay, excellent. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Akhil. Okay, here is the guide. So if you see, it's a 492 page document, very extensive, very detailed. So it will tell you completely what to do in an organization to start from the scratch and how to implement things. Right. So if you let's just glance over the contents. The controls from here, basically. Right. So this is all, like, say, about this purpose and applicability, target audience, who should read this document, etc., etc., etc. And here comes the actual controls. So we have to put access control, awareness and training, audit and accountability, assessment, authorization and monitoring, configuration management, contingency planning, identification and authentication, incident response. So all of these should be taken care. And if you go through the details of each of these, so there will be detailed explanation of how to do this, right? And all. Now, imagine that a first-time manager, as a first-time manager, so if you had to read this 400-page document and then try to implement the cybersecurity practices in the company, it's going to take at least 1 year, right? So you want to read this document and digest, understand and digest this document, it will take you at least 2 months. Now, this is not an ideal solution for a small company. Yes, for the large enterprise, where we can have the cybersecurity planning for, let's say, 3 to 5 years, right? So that's how they do it. Let's say over a period of next, let's say 3 years or 5 years, we need to be, let's say, having a world-class cybersecurity practices. In a company that I joined, so there was a target where the CISO told me that we want to start a SOC team, and however, in the next 3 years, we want, let's say, SOC to be the centric SOC team to be the centric for entire cybersecurity happenings within the company. So that is how we worked towards that goal. So typically, large enterprises will plan, let's say, long term, 3 years, 5 years. But however, a small company needs to take action. I mean, of course, even they have to plan for a long time. But however, they want to get things done with minimal budget and as soon as possible. So for them, these kind of extensive frameworks might not be very effective. For example, list 853, the list documents are always numbered. Okay, so you will be coming across a couple of more later on. For example, the one that we are talking about is 853. Okay, so similarly, we have ISO 27001. I am trying to download a checklist. There will be some companies that will give us the checklist. You see that, let's say, security policies should exist. All policies approved by management, evidence of compliance. So if you are compliant, you just keep checking this. Yeah, this is done, this is done, this is done, or you can just probably add some comments here as to what is pending. So all those kind of things we can probably do. So this is not a this is a good thing. It's just more of a checklist that somebody has simplified and kept it for using, right? So, and if you see, there are certain things for organization. Fine, this is human resource security. You see, even the human resources that are hired for the company should be screened, right? Asset management. We talked about assets yesterday while talking about vulnerability management. So first of all, we have to identify the assets, maintain a list of inventory for assets, complete ownership list of assets. That means who owns the assets. No, we are not. We don't do all these. The thing is, the reason why I'm trying to talk about this is because I want you to get a sense of completeness as to how do we, just by learning 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 technologies in cybersecurity, you will still not feel that enough. Is it, let's say, did I learn everything that's there in the market? Probably not. Then what else is required? So to give that complete sense and to start thinking cybersecurity in a holistic way, we have this class where we talk about cybersecurity controls. We will tell about all the aspects of cybersecurity that the company has to look for. There are certain things beyond just implementing technologies. For example, security awareness. For example, application review, penetration testing. So all these things the company has to take care in order to ensure that they are completely secure. So this will give you a sense of what cybersecurity actually constitutes of in a company. Right, so here it was talking about the asset management. So basically having a list of all the assets, who is owning them. So you see, things are very detailed here, right? So access control, define the policies for user asset registration and deregistration. So how should one asset enter our company? How can one asset register in our company? How after its life is done? Let's say the server is done. The server is maybe 6-year-old. The server, we have to remove it. So how do I remove it? So for that also we need to have policy. That means because the server that is staying in the company for 6 years has some data. So how do I get rid of that data? Because I cannot just dispose the hardware. before disposing the hardware, I have to make sure that there is no company related data on the hard disk. So all these things will be written in the form of a policy, defined policy for user access provisioning. So if somebody comes and asks, okay, I want to access database. So what is the policy that you have? Do you have a policy to give access? And what is that process, let's say, and the procedure that you will follow in order to give access? So if anybody comes and asks, so randomly you will give it, or is it a procedure where you have to raise a request? Your manager has to approve it. It will come to the necessary team. The team's manager has to approve it, and then the administrator will execute the task. Like this, there should be a proper procedure that has to be defined. So all these things, you see, very granular things. This is not a technology. Defining policy for user access provisioning is not a technology, right? So, but it is the policies that the company has defined. So even the rules and regulations or the policies that the company has defined are very important. It's kind of a law for the company. It's kind of a law as to how things have to be done in the company. Policies are the ultimate documents, right? So whatever the policies say, everybody has to follow the policy. See, it talks about defining policy, define policy. Define policy for password management system. That means how it should be, your passwords, right? So all of these things should be taken care of. Policies apply to your individual company level, whereas regulations are for the entire industry. For example, for health care, right? So there is HIPAA. That's a regulation. Policy is what you define within your company. So policy is defined by one company could be different from policy defined in some other company, right? So policies apply at the company level, regulations apply at the industry level. So like this, there are detailed things. Even ISO 27000 is very extensive. In fact, ISO 27001 and NIST 853, both are almost same, right? So this is ISO defined. ISO means basically it comes from UK, right? So, and because Americans do not do exactly what the UK guys do, so they have to have their own kind of things. So they also defined NIST 853. So if you are in US, any federal entity or any company that does business with federal government has to follow 853, NIST 853, right? So NIST 853 is only applicable in the US, whereas ISO 27001 is a general standard. It is across the globe. So if you want to deep dive into anything, I would recommend ISO 27001 because it applies to almost across the globe. For application software companies, again, it depends on the vertical. Ravindra, the thing application for banking. That means you are not an application company. You are a bank related application. So you have to follow all the regulations of a bank defined by the banks or maybe the monetary agency of that particular country. For example, in India, so there is Paytm, PhonePe, right? So these are application. So they are a technology company, but they deal with money. So they have to follow the guidelines defined by RBI. Right. So now what I'm trying to say here is that, let's say, these are all very vast and detailed. Now, for a first-time cybersecurity manager and for a small company, these might not be an easy way to implementing. Or even though they are good, it might not be easier for a small company to adapt them. That's why we also have another control called as CIS controls. CIS controls or CIS critical controls. CIS stands for what is that? Center for Internet Security. Center for Internet Security. So it's again a not-for-profit body that again defines let's say how company has to take care of their cybersecurity. Now here, these guys have done a wonderful job of reducing the size of the document. So for especially for small to medium sized companies, so this is a great way to start. You can download it for free. It's available. Let's see if I can get it. All these people, they want to give the email address. Only then they will allow us to download. Okay. This is the document. Fine. See, if you see here, 93-page document. Again, still not small, but again, cybersecurity itself is very vast. So in order to cover, so we have just a 93-page document, and it's not very cluttered, right? So it has very clear goals. We have around 18 critical controls now. Earlier it was more. Right now we have 18. Earlier it was 20. We used to call it as 20 critical controls. But from last year onwards, version 8 onwards, they have reduced it to 18. Okay. What are these? And everything is defined here. So first one is inventory and control of enterprise asset. The same thing that was defined in ISO 27001. Inventory and control of software assets. Data protection should be taken care. Here is where, let's say, little bit of encryption, DLP comes into picture, data loss prevention, secure configuration of enterprise assets and softwares, account management, access control management. So who will get what access, right? So all these things, plus what it says is there are 3 categories of companies. There are 3 categories of companies. Okay, hold on. Okay, here it is. Implementation group is what they call it as. IG1, IG2, IG3. So IG1 is an enterprise. IG1 enterprise is small to medium size with limited IT cybersecurity expertise, dedicated towards protecting the IT assets and personnel. That means less number of people working in the company, especially in the cybersecurity domain. So IG2 enterprise employs individuals responsible for managing and protecting IT infrastructure. That means there are people, but not enough. Okay, but here IG3 means well-established companies, security experts that specialize in different facets of cybersecurity. Okay. So IG1 implementation group 1, 2, and 3. So for each of these groups, for example, I know in what my company belongs to. Maybe my company is IG1. So for one, I need to know my implementation group, and then if I scroll down, it will tell me for every standard. For example, this one is inventory and control of enterprise asset, the first control. If I come here, there is a table, what has to be implemented for IG1. So you see this, there are basically 6 safeguards, 5 safeguards. And if I'm IG1, I have to take care of at least 2, this and this. If I'm an IG3 company, I have to take care of all. If you see here, all of these I have to take care of. So some kind of, let's say, reference will be is given so that it is helpful as to what I should be focusing on. Is this clear, guys? I want you guys to read this document. This is okay. Here it is. Very important document. Trust me, you are not going to kind of understand everything right now. Okay, but if you read this document, you will start understanding cybersecurity in all angles, and subconsciously it will be in your mind. And whenever you are reading other articles or whenever you are learning something else in the future, that will make sense, because the controls will cover all the aspects of cybersecurity. So I know it's boring to read documents or books, but I strongly urge you to complete this. This is a very important, it's not too huge also, but I'm pretty sure while you are reading, you will not understand everything that is written here, because a lot of us are still new to cybersecurity. But if you can read it digest it as much as possible. Trust me, it is going to help you for a long time. There is no direct results or advantage of reading it. That means just by reading this document, okay, fine, now I am a cybersecurity manager. No, you don't become that. But subconsciously, all this information, like say, when it is stored in your mind, it will start coming out again whenever you read articles or touch upon a relevant topic in the future. Okay, so please do read this. Now I'll just go through the controls at a very high level. And that will be our class for today. I'll copy this. Oh, come on. Okay, why it is getting so difficult for me to download anything today? So let me see if I can just. Nope. Google is doing something. Okay, finally. Come on. Okay, so now this is readable. All right, so what do we have here? The different controls. I'll just briefly walk through at a very high level. Can please somebody share the link in the WhatsApp, both for NIST 853 and the CIS controls document. So the first one, inventory and control of enterprise asset. You see how structured, if you follow the guidelines, how it becomes structured. So when I asked you a question, what will you implement? Let's say everybody started jumping into firewalls, antivirus, email gateway, this, right? But the very first thing as a cybersecurity manager I need to do is, first of all, make a list of all my assets. What are the things that I'm trying to protect? So if you know that, then let's say you can take a structured approach as to what I should be implementing. If you don't know what you're trying to secure, then let's say ultimately you will end up missing something. So the very first thing that a company should do is to maintain an inventory and control of enterprise asset. Basically, make a list of all the assets that you have in your company, all your hardware, let's say all your computers like laptops, desktops, servers, your routers, switches, your cybersecurity solutions like firewall, IPSs, all the hardware things. Then you do the same thing for your software assets as well. So what are the list of softwares that you use in your company, right? So you use Windows, you use maybe Linux or some version of flavors of Linux like Red Hat. what are the different versions, and what are the different applications that you use in your company. Let's say there is O365 package, then there is maybe some Tally or some other applications, hundreds of applications that you use in your company. Make a list of them. Right. So the third, you need to be focusing. Again, this is not an order. This is not a proper order. Okay, fine. First, I have to do this. Second, I have to do this. Third, I have to do this. You have to pick the category based on the priority. What is most important for your company? For example, if your company deals with sensitive information, then data protection might be of highest precedence for you. Right. So what is data protection? Every now and then we come across companies where, let's say, the company deals with sensitive information. Let's say it could be law companies, it could be pharmaceutical companies where there are secret formulas for medicines, right? So like that. So, and data protection becomes very important, right? And there are companies that are storing, all the e-commerce companies store the information in the database, and they also store the credit card details of the customers, right? So because we are storing the data, it becomes this insensitive data, it becomes necessary that we protect the data. So what are the ways to protect the data? How can we protect the data? So the two technology, in fact, that is the assignment as well. If you log into Magic Portal, you will see the assignment. You have to, for every control, you have to map the example technology that you can use. For every control, you have to map an example technology, what it does, what is the purpose of that particular control, and what technology could you possibly use in order to implement that. So there are two technologies that will help here, data protection. One is encryption, right? So anytime you store the data or transfer the data, right? So you have to encrypt it. So the database are all, wherever we place, keep the sensitive data, the database has to be encrypted. That is one technology that will help us. There are softwares that will help us in encryption. Then there is DLP, data loss prevention. Now this is a technology that will help us in accidentally or deliberately stealing data. For example, if an employee is trying to copy data, let's say it will help us in protecting such kind of activities. That means if you are not authorized to see any data, you will not be allowed to do that with the help of DLP technology, data loss prevention. If you try to, maybe you are allowed to see the data, for example, all the sales records of the company. And most of the time it happens. Every time the sales guy is trying to, when he's leaving the company, he copies all the data and sends it to their personal email address. A lot of you guys have done that, right? So before leaving the company, take out all the important data that you might need for your future job. So such kind of things we can prevent using DLP, data loss prevention. So whatever secure configuration of assets and softwares, whatever we have identified, control to the enterprise assets and the software assets, we have to define the secure configuration for that. So we have to make sure that all these are properly configured. There are, for every server, for every type of hardware, there is a list of, let's say, best practices as to how to secure it. So we can read those guidelines and implement the security configuration. It's a tool. There are a lot of tools available in the market. That's part of your assignment. Please do some R&D or explore the internet. You will find it. Yes, there are technologies, and there are a lot of vendors who sell DLP technologies. The fifth control is account management. So account management, obviously, whenever you are creating any account, so you have to make sure, let's say there is a whole department called IAM, Identity and Access Management. So that will be covered both 5 and 6, identity and access management. We say that an identity is born, the identity is changed, when the employee during the phase of the employee, and ultimately the identity dies. So from the birth till its death in the company, right? So we have to define a proper procedure as to who is authorized to create the account, what is the procedure for creating the account, what kind of accesses he has to be given. So that's what is access control management. So all these things has to be properly taken care. It is again implemented by a technology called as IAM, Identity and Access Management. Again, there are tools available in the market, IAM tools, that will help us in doing that. Continuous vulnerability management. This is what we have recently discussed about yesterday. So we know the importance of identifying vulnerabilities and patching the systems to keep them safe. Then we have audit log management. Now, control number 8 is directly related to SOC. So audit log management. Audit log management basically means maintaining the logs for each and everything that is happening in the company in all the computers. Be it be a user computer, be it be a server, be it be a security solution. You have to maintain the records because the logs will tell the story of what was happening at any given point in time. Then we have the email and web browser protection. This one we talked about why these two kind of traffic especially requires monitoring, because these are the two ways that we expose our users to the internet quite frequently, email and web browser. So you know how to protect it. One is email gateway and then is web gateway. 10th control is malware defense. So here a lot of technology will come into picture, like antivirus will be helpful. Email gateway can also help us in preventing the malwares coming in through attachment. Web gateway can help us in preventing malwares coming in from web downloads. Right. So there's also a technology called sandbox that will help us in detecting malwares. Sandbox is basically a technology that will help in identifying the malwares based on behavior. That means it's an isolated environment. It's a separate machine. Okay, it's a simple normal machine. Sandbox. I'm talking about sandbox now, where we will be allowed to execute the malware. So you have a file. Antivirus says it's a clean file, right? So and threat intelligence doesn't have the entry, so it seems to be a clean file. But rather than just allowing it to execute, so what we do is first we will test it in the sandbox. We call it as detonating the file. We will run the file in a controlled environment and see how it behaves. And if it is any malicious behavior, then we'll flag it as a malware. So we have sandboxing as well for malware defense. Data recovery. Now this is where the backups come into picture. Disaster recovery comes into picture, right? So having a separate site, let's say separate data center, all those things will come in data recovery. So for every database that you need to have RAID configuration, and then you have to have some backups, offline backups as well, online backups. So how long it will be backed up? So what's the difference in data? If the data is crashed right now, till what point it can recover? So all this, it's a big thing in itself, right? So storage, it's the department will be storage department. So then we have network infrastructure management. This is the routing and switching part of the network. Plus we have the control number 13, which is network monitoring and defense. This is where our firewall and IPS will come into picture. Network infrastructure management is IPS and routers. So how do we configure things to route the traffic within the company, and how to securely do it? And network monitoring and defense, that means defending the network through firewall and IPS. Control number 14 is security awareness and skill training. You see, not only it's about technology, implementing technology after technology, we also have to make sure that our employees are also, let's say, aware about the cybersecurity practices. So that means they should not be clicking on any links in the email coming in from unknown senders. They should not download the attachment coming in from the unknown senders. So all this knowledge they need to have. Then we have service provider management. So this is also becoming more and more important today. This also sometimes referred to as third-party risk management, TPSM. TP. TPRS, TPRM, yes, TPRM, third party risk management. So, what is service provider management? Every company today relies a little bit on third party vendors, right? So maybe they are getting some equipments from a third party. Let's say consider a manufacturing company. So they are not manufacturing everything. So they are getting it from something from the suppliers, right? So when there are suppliers or service providers to the company, we give certain access our company, certain access of our company to them. There might be some couple of user accounts created for our partner, right? So there might be a VPN access given to the partner. So the thing is, what is happening is there is something called a supply chain attack. Supply chain attack. So when the attacker wants to compromise a highly secure target, then rather than focusing directly on the target, they will focus on these service providers. It will be a route to entry to target big companies. It will be a route to entry to target big companies. Right. So it becomes necessary that with all the companies that we are dealing with, because see, the company might be big, but the service provider might not be that huge. They might not be following the proper security practices. So it becomes necessary that before we give them contracts, so we have to assess the risk as to, and also make them legally bound to take care of their cybersecurity, so that we can reduce the risks coming in from third parties. Then we have application software security. So in case if your company is responsible for developing applications, then you have to take care of application software security as well. That means you have to securely design the application. You have to do application security testing, etc. You also need to have incident response management. Now, what is incident response management? After deploying all kinds of cybersecurity solution, after deploying all kinds of policies and practices, every now and then companies will still encounter cyber attacks. And at that point in time, how you are going to respond to those attacks will be written in the incident response policy or incident response plan. So it means when the company is attacked, how are we going to react? So if you have their steps defined, it will be a lot more easier to tackle the attack. And we definitely need to have it, because no matter how much of a security you have, attackers can still penetrate. That's why there's a saying in cybersecurity that it is not about if you will be attacked, it's about when you will be attacked. So everybody will definitely, let's say, face a cyber attack at some point. When is that? We don't know. So be ready. And then last control is the penetration testing. So after deploying all these controls, right? So something might be there might be some weak configuration, or there might be a vulnerable software that we are using. So we will ask a third party company to penetrate into our network. And try to penetrate into our network and try to identify all the weaknesses. So that's the penetration testing. So when we do all these things, now if you take care of all these aspects of cybersecurity, now can you get a little sense of completeness saying that, yes, I have done everything that is possible in my hand? Nessus is very heavy, Gaurav. So it can be used as a penetration testing tool to identify. It can be, but it is a heavy tool. There are a lot of other easier to, like Nmap is much better for hackers. It's very lightweight and fast. I told that, Ravindra, we didn't. It is not an order, right? So they are just the control numbers, but it is not mandatory to follow them in order. Sandarsh, you take any secure entity in the world. What do you think will be the most secure entity in the world? Which entity or company should be the most secure? NASA compromised. Banks compromised. Payment industry compromised several times. Pentagon, which is the US Department of Defense, has been compromised. FBI has compromised. NSA, National Security Agency of US, has been compromised. Apple is compromised. Google is compromised. Microsoft has been compromised. Sony has been compromised. All these are big, large entity, right? So now imagine if they are compromised, who is actually safe then? So the saying that a company cannot be 100% secure is absolutely right. Or let me put it this way. If a hacker wants to attack you, he can easily attack you. They just need to target. So if a hacker decides to attack, they will definitely do that. In fact, tomorrow's class is all about that. Department of Homeland Security, I don't know. I have not heard about the compromise, but let's say if you look into the history, there will definitely be some compromise. I would not say more or less, Ankit, but blue team jobs are easier to get compared to red team. That is correct, Gaurav. So the Reserve Bank was compromised. Bangladesh Reserve Bank was compromised. They almost shipped, I think, 1 billion or so. It was stopped. They lost around 200 million or something, but recovery plan comes under incident response. Incident response has few phases: preparation, identification, detection, containment, eradication, recovery, and lesson learned. So recovery comes in incident response. Someone was jumping on their website. They do that, let's say, between countries, right? So North Korea, US, India, Pakistan, the hackers keep on hacking each other's website and put funny or sometimes insulting messages. We call it as web defacement attack. You take any companies, every company, every major entity is compromised, guys. No, Jimmy, you cannot pass CEH exam with this course. This course is totally different compared to CH. CH is completely hands-on. It's all about hacking. Yeah, I heard that recently one NEET exam was compromised. All right, guys. So I will give you the assignment from the. Tomorrow will be an interesting class. We'll talk about how attacks happen. It's the other way around. Sainath, blue teams are more opportunity than red teams. Ankit Kumar, definitely I will talk about it. Not today though, but I have built a course for OT cybersecurity. It's just that I'm just waiting for the market to recover completely. I want my courses to be job oriented, guys. If you're not getting a job, then uh, just sharing, giving out knowledge is useless because the knowledge is already anyways available in the internet. Sorry for confusion, Sainath. The thing is, there are a lot of blue team opportunities compared to red team. Pradeep Reddy, it was yesterday. I don't know whether you practiced the vulnerability assessment class or not. It was completely hands-on. If you are expecting us to give you the labs, then no, it will never happen. So you prepare your own lab and you practice. Eight GB should be fine. Read their official content, Jimmy. As simple as that. The answer is read the official content. That is not even a question to ask, Jimmy. So there are, let's say, official books from Security Plus. There are video courses from Security Plus. Read them. Let's say that should definitely help you pass the exam. All right. So in a while, I'll be sharing you the document for the. Anything is fine. Maybe it is Ubuntu is fine. Yeah, Red Hat is fine. Ubuntu is fine. Just make sure it is free. Don't pay unnecessarily. It should say eligible for free tier. Okay, I have pinged the assignment also in the group for CIS. It's an extensive assignment. Let's say we'll have to do a little bit of research, but if you can figure out things, especially on your own, and we have purposefully designed the assignment this way, guys. We have purposefully designed the assignment in such a way that they are little difficult because your actual learning happens when you are doing a little bit of research. When you explore internet and try to find answers by yourself, that's when the real learning happens. Probably next month we'll be starting cloud security classes. So you can probably enroll for that. For the month of August, we might have cloud security classes. We'll do that. It takes a lot of time. Let's say plugins. No, Nessus has some free plugins also. Nirmal Kumar, Nessus has some free plugins also. It's going to be free. It's going to be free next month. We'll decide when we will be actually starting it. But next course will be at the same timing. It will be cloud security classes. AWS. We'll be focusing on AWS. All right, guys. So that's it from my side today. We'll meet again tomorrow. It's an interesting class tomorrow. So we'll see how attacks happen. So do attend it. Thank you very much for listening. You guys have a wonderful rest of the day.